Hi, I'm Richard Dean Anderson.
Name's MacGyver.
Colonel Jack O'Neill, SG-1.
My name is Pratt. Ernest Pratt.
I always get a happy, tingly feeling when I see those guys.
Name one contract that I failed to execute.
MacGyver.
Oh, here we go.
You're a target. And I don't intend to miss.
Over my rotting corpse. I'm sorry, did I say that out loud? Glowing eyes, cliche behavior, evilness, that kind of thing.
Is mental illness contagious?
You think?
You can do anything you want to do if you put your mind.
Well, you do have a penchant for pulling brilliant ideas out of your butt.
Head.
Out of your head when we need them.
Oh, stuff's already here. I just find a different way to use it.
I like your attitude.
Permission to take a team through the Stargate, sir.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to the latest episode of the MacGyver podcast. I'm your host, Mac Jackson, and joining me again today is the lovely and wonderful Cindy Jackson, who happens to be my wife. And we are going to talk about the episode today, Ugly Duckling, from Season 1. I don't have my phone on me, so I can't tell you any of the facts about it. But, yeah, from Season 1... actually, you know what? Will you grab my phone?
I sure can.
Thanks. And a little bit of info. It's been a little while since we've done these episodes. It's not from lack of interest. It's not from lack of effort. Life has been a little busy. I thought it was just a couple months ago that we did these. Thank you, my sweet love. And it wasn't. Apparently, it was November of last year was the last time we did one of these. Which is weird unless we're missing an episode that didn't load, which is going to be all about catching you up on what's been going on with us. So we haven't been doing these as quick as we wanted to because life has been hectic. Our children are wonderful actors and performers, and they have been very busy at school and outside school productions. Mikey was just in Les Mis and did a heck of a job, which is a lot of work. They do like a Broadway performance level production at prep where he goes. And our daughter Everly had been part of an acting group, and she's been doing some plays. So basically our time has not been our own. We have been carting them around. They have good social lives, so that's been part of the whole thing. I was also out of a job for 6 months, which sucked. And let me see, I'm going to try and find that episode while we're talking. Okay, there we go. I will be able to give you information, or not through this. I'm going to go through our friends MacGyver Online, who are always wonderful to give us all the details that we want. If anybody's looking for anything MacGyver related as far as that goes, you should go to MacGyver Online or Kate's site, rdanderson.com. That's where you're going to get the best source of directors. Give me 2 seconds here. Well, that's unfortunate. I don't care about that. Why is this not doing it? Okay. Here we go. MacGyver Online. We're going to go to... I will let you do that, actually. See if you can find the episode. This is their site. And there is their... Yeah, there you go. Episodes. So yeah, our kids are blessed with the acting bug and singing, and they're great at it. Unfortunately, it's taken up all of our time. I was looking for a job. I couldn't really be too creative when anytime I sat at a computer, I felt guilty about doing something fun when I thought anytime I have free, I should be out there trying to find a job. Found a job. And for the last few months, there we go. Thank you, my love. For the last few months, I've been learning that job from the ground up because there's no training and it's a lot of responsibility. And I come home very, very stressed. So, finally, one more big hurdle that we're trying to get over. We were using Rapid Feeds as our place to load up our episodes, which would then distribute to iTunes and Spotify and you name it, that was the place. For the last 6 months, maybe more, they are non-existent. They have at their site that they are moving to a new source, basically changing computer systems. But that's 6 months ago. They don't even respond to emails now. And last I tried, their email was disconnected. So, the problem I'm having is not only having a place to load them up, but also have them distribute. For example, I now use Spotify as the main source, which is great. I mean, if you go onto Spotify, you're going to see every episode now has its own picture. So that's a lot of fun. I like that. But I'm currently trying to make sure it gets dispersed to iTunes and all these other people. Whereas Rapid Feed used to do it automatically, Spotify says you have to manually go in and tell these people to load up your episodes. So the 3 shows, Never Gets Old podcast, the audio series MacGyver SG1, and this show, the MacGyver podcast, they're not loading. We don't know when this episode is going to show up on iTunes, but it's going to be on YouTube. It's going to be on Spotify. So be patient because it's not been fun. So here we go. The writer was Larry Gross of Ugly Duckling, episode 18 from season 1. Director Charles Carell, Darcy Marta as Kate Lafferty, Father Lafferty. That's the rest of my life. Dana Elcar, obviously. And little surprise person in there who people are familiar with. I remember as a kid seeing this going, oh, I know him. The professor from Gilligan's Island shows up on that episode. Which, back in the 60s, he was on The Twilight Zone. And you can tell he's got that classic Hollywood chiseled jaw, right? Mm-hmm. He looks like, okay, when they didn't care about acting, they just cared about how's he look. That's the guy. And they went, okay, he's going to be our lead guy. So it was great to see him on a MacGyver episode.
Not that he's a bad actor, by the way.
Great actor. As a matter of fact, as I'm watching that, I'm like, I know he's gone now, but man, I really wish he got used more. Yeah.
He was underrated, I believe.
So underrated. Mm-hmm. Great. I mean, he's the professor, and everybody says the professor. But he should have led his own show. And I'm sure, I know he's done other shows, and he's done other parts. But he's the lead man type of actor. Not just because of his looks, but you like him.
He's charming.
He's charming, comfortable, solid. Love that. And here he is on MacGyver. Would have been nice if they used him more. So anywho, here is the description that they have. MacGyver comes to the aid of a 15-year-old computer whiz who's captured by terrorists and forced to fix the guidance system of a stolen U.S. missile. There. Let's start this off. It starts with a clip that when they repeat this show on USA or wherever, they never show the first 3 minutes, which don't have MacGyver in it at all. They always start with the club scene. Well, this shows, I don't know, bad guy's going to steal a missile off the back of a truck, but other bad guys swoop down. They rappel down from a building. They get in a shootout, and the rappel guys end up taking the missile. So I don't even know if the first guys were supposed to be bad guys.
I was going to say, it really doesn't make a difference.
No, let's crank. We're going to crank open this box and see what we bought. Yeah. Well, then why are they all make-upped up to be hiding and they're, I don't know.
Not missing anything, right? By not putting that part in.
Right. Right. It didn't quite make sense to me. But whatever. Again, this is the first season. I will say a couple things to note with this episode. One, MacGyver's hair will never be shorter because now it's at the length where it's starting to hit the collar and he's starting to have his MacGyver icon look. Right? I mean, it seems to be settling at a nice place. Two, I feel like the powers that be have settled on where MacGyver is as a character in this episode. He's very comfortable. He's very laid back. He's not, if you remember the first couple episodes of the first season, he's a little more snarky, a little more Jack O'Neil-ish with kind of being a smart mouth when he doesn't need to be, but he's, supposed to be that sort of swashbuckling kind of and he does it a little, not to an annoying degree, but in comparison, you go, oh, they got it now. They know
lighter now.
He's lighter. They also seem to know that he doesn't need to do every kind of how would I put it? They settle on how he would maneuver through the episode's obstacles, where in the first few, even the opening gambits, it was very hit him hard, hit him fast, go, 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 where in this case, he seems to be comfortable being him and, all right, relax. We don't need to get hyper about the situation. We're going to deal with this. And I feel like they've settled. They've also settled that he has his leather jacket. He's got his nice red Mandarin collar shirt. And again with the hair, you can tell they're like, all right, we got it. We understand the character now. We don't have to try coming at it from different angles, which I feel the first few episodes did. What else to note? Pete is not just, they use Pete in a great way because he's not just the guy to go, all right, MacGyver, here's your mission, on your way. Which they originally threw in there for that reason. To be the guy to hand him his folder of whatever the mission is, should you choose to accept it, kind of thing. They use him really well. There's a great banter. You can feel the friendship between them, and it feels natural. So, back to the episode. So then it cuts to a scene where they're in a nightclub, and MacGyver comes walking in, and it shows him going through the crowd, and he's watching the guy who looks like a professor playing the saxophone with the band that's playing at this club. Which is great. And it gives depth to this character who he has to talk to. And he tells the waitress, could you go give him this drink? He'll know it's for me, and that kind of thing. And the guy gets done playing the saxophone, which this is also happens at the end of the episode, so we're going to jump ahead a bit. You could tell the music couldn't be anything specific. They couldn't play something from the radio, but they couldn't also make it, too 80s? They couldn't make it too generic. So it's going to be peppy, and it's kind of, an instrumental thing. So there's no singing in the background. And you can also tell, you can't tell it until I personally at the end with the kids dancing. Mm-hmm. It's piped in afterwards because they have to film a scene. So they just tell these kids,
you're dancing.
I always wish they knew what song they were going to pipe in, so that way they could go, here's the beat of it goes like this, so get moving to that beat. Mm-hmm. Because so many times in shows and movies, you're like, why is he spinning around when this is a waltz? Like, that doesn't make any, So, not so bad in this episode. They're all watching the professor play the saxophone, and isn't he great? And then he comes over with the drink after the waitress gives him the drink when he's done, and sees MacGyver and says, hey, I know why you're here, and the answer is no. Thanks for coming by. And MacGyver's, what do you mean? I didn't even ask you anything. You're going to ask me to help you with the guidance system that I was working on. And they sent you because they think that you have some sort of pull with me. And I love that MacGyver says, don't I? Yeah, you do. This professor reminds me of some teachers that I've had, where you get to see, like, if you're lucky enough, you don't just see them in the classroom. If you get a rapport with them, maybe you're part of their other life, their the stuff outside the classroom. That's a nice, comfortable blessing to have. Reminds me of a teacher both my kids just lost, Mr. Pavis, Michael Pavis. He was very important to them. I got along with them great guy. And coincidentally, by the way, he was like the, oh, Captain, my Captain, inspirational kind of teacher that we always want for both of my children. Both of my children want to be teachers because of this guy. He was a writer. He wrote plays. Passed away. My daughter was part of the group at school that noticed he wasn't acting well and made sure that he got help immediately. She did that. Very proud of her. Turns out he had a brain tumor and just passed away last week. Just got his obituary in today. We read it. Donating his body to science. Just the kind of write-up that I know I would want. I wouldn't want someone just going, he was this old, he lived this way.
This was his kids' names.
Right, here's the bare minimum.
This is where he worked.
It was a great tribute to who he was. Coincidentally, though, he worked at Penn State where I went to school. His boss that he worked for, who's still there, was my captain, oh captain. So funny when we would talk, we'd find out that, oh wow, you work for him, and it's something, because being a writer, that my teacher kind of inspired me to appreciate writing and be creative more and write. Do more, be more. One of those great teachers. I used Perone is the guy I'm referring to. Mr. Perone, I would take all of his classes because I just enjoyed them so much. Not that I needed them, but at one point, the school messed up and didn't have a seat for me. I showed up on the first day. I'm looking at my schedule. I said, hey, I'm supposed to be in Mr. Perone's class. They said, oh, yeah, I guess somebody messed up. Well, we can't do it now. All the classes are full. I was heartbroken. I went down and told Mr. Perone, hi. He's like, oh, hey, great to see you. I'm so glad to see you. I said, I would be in your class, but they messed up. They don't have enough seats. He went, hang on a second. Went across the hall, dragged a desk, put it there and said, yes, you do. And when he knew I wasn't getting anywhere with my guidance counselor, he said, I'm your guidance counselor now. You come see me. That's the kind of guy he is. And Mr. Pavis was very much of that. They're going to do a tribute thing at the Cultural Center in October that we're going to go to. Not having a wake or any of that. So we've been checking all week. Why haven't they mentioned anything? That's why. So they're going to show his work. It's going to be a big celebration. So this guy on this episode reminds me of that a bit. So you got to see a little bit of his life. He's playing the saxophone, and all right, MacGyver convinces him, I'll help you. All right, have the guys, reach out. We'll make this happen. But as he goes outside and MacGyver is a few steps behind him, they're going to kidnap him. This car shows up. These bad guys jump out to grab him. And he struggles with them. They have a gun. He struggles with the gun with two guys, I believe. And MacGyver is not, I love this. MacGyver doesn't dive after them and I'm going to fight you guys with the gun. He's not an idiot. I love that because so many other characters would have been written to dive at them and do some martial arts and
Take their shirt off
yeah, if you're watching Hawaii Five-0
for no reason.
for no reason. McGarrett. So that's the newer one. And instead he ducks behind a car like, oh crap. Starts setting off car alarms, which is great because it gets more people to come outside. But in the struggle, you hear and the professor gets shot. And these guys take off. And MacGyver runs over to him. And the professor quotes, Shakespeare. And he goes, don't worry, I'll get you help. No, it's, not a well so deep or, whatever the line is. But it will suffice, basically. He knows he's going to die. Don't bother, And tries to tell MacGyver, you have one of the greatest minds I've ever known. I expect probably great things, is what he was going to say, but he dies. And MacGyver just crumbles there in front of him and sits with them until the ambulance comes. So they cut to the next day with MacGyver in Pete's office. And one of the things I noticed, and I'm sure you noticed too, are the big binders on the shelf in Pete's office.
Mm-hmm.
The big, thick ones that would hold all the instructional paperwork. Very much of the time, and I know some offices that still do that. But boy, you could tell, like, okay, yeah, this is real. This is like where they would, I don't know how to get into this computer system, pull this off, flip some pages, or what's our manual on vacation days? All right, They're all in Pete's DXS office, by the way. It's not the Phoenix. He doesn't work for the Phoenix Foundation yet. They still work for the DXS. And MacGyver says that later on. He calls in and uses his, whatever the current ID is that they have him. Also, the bad guys, when they're referring to him, they have this guy, his name's MacGyver, and they open the folder. The picture that they use is, I think it's supposed to be a picture of MacGyver in college that they used in, what the heck was the name of the episode? Old Flame, what was it? Give me 2 seconds, I'm going to tell you. It's right there, and I just saw it. Flames End, that's the one. It's the same picture that they used with him in like a knit tie. It's if it wasn't him, it would be a dorky picture. But two things. One, okay, you're using that again. That's fine. Whatever. I had no complaint, no nitpick. And also, yeah, if you're going to be in a file, you're not going to be in your casual clothes. Like anytime they would show him using an ID, you got to be careful that it's not the clothes he's wearing that day, which they never did. But typically, if you're going to pose for an ID at work, you're going to dress up a little better. You're going to so you go, okay, so that's his DXS, what he used for that picture. And so he talks to Pete. Pete says, there's this girl that he was working with, and MacGyver is going to go talk to her. So he does. And he goes back to the classroom where she eventually walks in and goes over to the desk and is, very sad and somber. And he says, I loved him too. Which I love that MacGyver says that. Like he's that type of person. Doesn't, I have to be stoic. No, he can be vulnerable and say, yeah, I love the guy. And starts making small talk with her. And I love that he says, this was my desk, right by the heater. I'm no dummy. And then says her name. And she goes, how do you know that? And tries to tell her, bad guys are coming for you. I'm here to help.
Just another quick sign of the times thing. He was able to walk into a school and just be in somebody's classroom randomly, which, strikes you now as, whoa. But
However, in his situation, he could have flashed his
True,
ID
true.
and said, I'm with the DXS. That's kind of important.
Yeah.
But we don't see that part. But yeah, good point. Would have been a little more difficult. He would have been sitting by himself, probably.
Right.
Somebody would have been out in the hall, like keeping an eye on him.
or they would have, said we have to call her down to the office. You can't just go wandering the halls looking for her, kind of thing.
And so I assume she just walked straight from home or whatever, came in. She wasn't in a class typically. I think it was like I got some free time. I'm going to go into the school and goof around in the lab. I don't like her. I can't speak for you or anybody else. I don't like her. I never did. And I understand they were doing the type of storyline that they did on Stargate SG-1 too. Carter had a young girl that had an attitude.
Really, really smart.
Yeah, and look at it. It's like a little, kind of like a mini you, but not quite. So you could kind of like help her along, but she's an a-hole. That's what we got going here years before. And okay, I'm glad they did it in season 1. I always personally have always hated when they do, look, it's a mini you, huh? It's just like you, only in smaller package. I don't like, they did that with Happy Days with Fonzie's cousin. I don't mean Chachi, I mean, like in the earlier seasons, there was the little mini him that had the leather jacket. And Spike was his name. Okay. It's kind of, I don't want to say it's easy, but it's predictable. And I never appreciated it any time in my life. Even if they were likable. See, the thing with MacGyver's son is you're going, yeah, I like him. All right, yeah, there you go. Because now it's a protege and it's MacGyver's biological son. All right. And also they make a point to say, you could see the creativity in him. You can see he's got MacGyver's kind of mind, but he's not there yet. So MacGyver will be there to help him. But, it's not like they're not equals at any point. And they make sure that they don't do that with this, too. But I don't like her. She's a snot. The whole point of her is she doesn't think she's pretty. And she's weird. And it's very true to life. I can say that. I have known people like that through the years who, I get it. And, I always try to be, maybe it's because of MacGyver, super patient, super kind, super trying to understand and just let me make your life easier. It's kind of my thing. You don't need to feel defensive with me. So he does that. And the heart of this episode is him being good to her. Right? Because, and again, I've watched this how many times? At no point does he stand there, and MacGyver never does this, but I could see any other character or any other actor doing this. Let me give you some preachy words to live by. Like, here's my moment to say. He's very comfortable with, like, he doesn't, he supports her, but he doesn't, he never talks down to her.
It was more of they were having fun with each other because it's like, okay, now I know this, and then you add this, and then I add this, and then we figure it out together. And it was they were both like enjoying each other's brains.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and he knew that he was mentoring her.
Yeah,
he knew that he was encouraging her.
Right.
So, like, let's go through the episode. So he goes back. She goes, I'm leaving. All right, well, I'll come with you. Why? I like talking to interesting people. And she leaves the door open, and he goes, no, get that. And just kind of having fun. All right, you're going to be a miserable jerk? Well, I'm just going to, I like to do that, yeah. I'm going to have fun with it then. And that's what he's doing. Nothing obnoxious, just, all right, I'm going to kind of have my own fun. You could laugh along, but you don't have to. I'm still going to do it. Goes back to her house with her mother and shows how she is watching the satellites on this contraption that she put together out of a big old giant computer, which we all had. Also, you'll notice when they're typing, even in the 90s, early 90s, the screen was a black screen with green or blue letters and no pictures. This is 85, 86, 86. And I remember being in grade school and them going, this is a computer. And we're going to play Carmen Sandiego, where are you? Where in the world are you? And you go, why? We'll make the arrow go over, do backspace, find, dot, Q, quiggly line, squiggly doodle doo. And you go, this isn't fun. I don't like this. No, it's a computer. It's great. And it was the only computer in the school. So every class had to come down and learn how to play Where in the World Are You? And then you went, okay, well, that got me out of whatever math class I was supposed to be in. And it brings you back. Even in the 90s when the interwebs started, I remember you go into whatever it was, and that's what you did. Oh, you want to go to that website? You can't just type in the name. Google was not a thing yet. You had to go... All right.
The exact web address starting with
www.
HTTP.
Yep.
Yeah.
Or www.
Well, no, it was HTTP / and then www.
That's a lot of work. Uh-huh. And then once you got on that site, you were staying on it because it wasn't worth getting off it. So this is the kind of computer that they're dealing with. And boy, does it bring me back. I was in college when the internet hit, and they were still doing that. And if you did see a picture, it was a very grainy, pixelized version of whatever that picture was supposed to be. Sometimes it came out, sometimes it almost came out. So all of a sudden these guys show up at the door because she's still giving MacGyver crap. She's still arguing, no, I don't want to help you. Kate, will you cut the crap? You're in a lot of trouble. At the door, and it's basically what? The whole Office of Defense, I think is what it was supposed to be. It was ODI. And I love that he goes, I'm officer, blah, blah, blah. And MacGyver walks over and just takes his ID out of his hand and looks at it. And they're like, who are you? Name's MacGyver. And hands it back. Yeah, they're legit.
Well, are you family or something? Something.
Yeah. So, yeah, they're like, you have to come with us. And she's going to put up a fight and argue. And he goes, don't do that. Just MacGyver kind of says, just go. We'll get you out if there's a problem. Just go answer their questions, help them out. So while she's gone talking to the professor, and she's kind of just showing how she can get into the computer and hack her way in, and they're like, "Oh, son of a b! How did this happen? How does it? Well,
not the professor, not the other professor.
No, sorry, the professor from Gilligan's Island.
Not the professor from the
not the
beginning of
dead
the show.
guy. Yeah, he ain't coming back.
That would be weird.
Yeah. Bad editing in that case. No, the professor from Gilligan's Island is in this scene where he's the one trying to get answers. MacGyver goes back to Pete and says, Pete, I need your help with this. You got to get these guys off her back. And rightfully so, Pete says, she didn't just steal an apple off an apple cart. She messed with the government. What do you want me to do? And I love that. It's the same thing like General Hammond would do on SG-1. I understand what's right, but I also understand there's a lot of red tape that I can't argue with. I mean, it is what it is. You can't just do whatever you want without repercussion. So MacGyver says, I'll make a deal with you. And basically he's going to do all he can for her, but he needs these guys off her case. And Pete says, I'll see what I can do, which was a great use of Pete, right? Mm-hmm. Because I love the fact that if they didn't need Pete in an episode, they didn't have Pete in an episode. Yep. Like you never felt like he was shoehorned in. You always felt like, no, there's a reason for him to be there, and it's not just to hand him a file. Right? This was a early first season episode where he's part of the cast now, and they use him well. You don't see him for the rest of the episode because you don't need to. So little smart mouth girl, for no reason whatsoever. I guess the writers would say she wasn't going anywhere unless she did this. Goes in, uses the computer to set off all the alarms, turn off the power while she sneaks out. And I could have sworn, maybe it's not this episode, but there's an episode where the lights are off and you see a door open quickly, like a little bit of light and close, and that was them getting out, which I love that little detail. Because they end up turning the power back on and she's gone. She, hijacked their system. She goes back to the school where MacGyver is at the computer trying to figure out the password. One of the things that I've said this before, they make sure with MacGyver, he's not an expert at everything. He's MacGyver, but he's not a computer hacker. He dabbles, but he's not going to have the answer to everything. And she's looking at him, kind of laughing at him. He's like, "What are you doing here? You're supposed to be with them." "Yeah, I got out." "Oh." And she starts complaining about her life, basically. "Nobody likes me. I'm ugly. And, I have no friends." Because that's what MacGyver says. "Is it true your mother said you have no friends?" And again, I've known people like this. Kids, when I used to work for a place that helped kids, that was a thing. And he's still trying to break in, and she's kind of laughing at him, going, "You're never going to get in." And he's trying to type in the password. So it's enter password, yes or no. Yes, password doesn't match. Now you have to do it again. So it's very simple, but very true to life. That was computers. And then when you did get in, it was just more lines of data. There nothing fun like on a computer now. And she basically lets out that she thinks she's ugly. Because I'm. And so he turns back to the computer and types in "ugly duckling," which I would have tried ugly first. They skip over the ugly part, just like, but at this point, because we got it. A lot of words aren't working because he's trying, Anything she says, he's trying. But ugly duckling works, and she gives him a face full saying, "That's mean." He goes, "That's your password." "That wasn't me. That was you. That's how you feel about it." So then they're trying to leave, and as they open the door, there's the bad guys who were trying to steal her teacher. And he has a gun. So MacGyver slams the door on his arm and then opens up and kicks them. And as he kicks them back to the wall, he locks the door and tells her, "Get into the supply closet." Which I guess that was probably the best option, unless he was going to try and fight them right then and there in the hallway. Because now you just cornered yourself. But I think in his mind,
It's one of those things where it gives him a minute to think.
Right, which I think is what they were doing. Also, it's a supply closet with stuff that MacGyver could use. Yeah. So he ends up putting together, basically plugging in the speaker sound system to crank it all up and have this high frequency annoying sound come out. Very simple, okay, that makes sense. But I also love that as they're walking it out, she sees that you're running out of wire. The extension cord only goes so far. MacGyver! And that's pretty dead on, I guess. Super annoying.
He did have headphones on.
And he did have, I agree, I'm not picking on her for that.
Right.
Just don't like the character. And the wire comes undone, which I like the fact that he's not invincible. It's what makes him wonderful and shows him overcome whatever the obstacle is. And sometimes the MacGyverisms do work to a point, and this is one of those where the wire came out. Oh, crap. So, because if everything worked perfectly and he didn't have to adjust to something, you'd go, "Oh, bull crap. I don't care if the science is real or not. It's not going to work perfectly the first time." And they always made sure that was true. This is one of those times where, it was a good idea, he says. And they grab her, and the guy tells him to turn around. He goes, we should talk. And as he starts to talk, the guy hits him on the back of the head and doesn't knock him out, which is a little detail that I really appreciate because, well, you hit him on the back of the head, you got to knock him out. That's how it goes. Every other time somebody gets hit in the head, they're unconscious.
For like an hour and a half.
Right. But in this case, his eyes are open. But that's realistic. He's down, but he's not out. And then it comes back from what would be commercial, and he's putting water on the back of his head and trying to figure out, she probably left me a clue. And he goes back into the system, sees coordinates, calls the satellite people, gives his DXS password, which is, I love that they did that. Because they're not going to give it to just anybody. Oh, Tommy wants to get the satellite position of what? No, we're not doing that. But because he did that, they help him. And I love that he's like, really? You will?
Yeah.
You guys are terrific. And so now he knows where to go. Because they kidnapped her. If he doesn't do that, I guess she's gone. That's it. You're never going to find her. And then it shows him driving. And I think this is one of the first times it shows him in a Jeep. It's not his Jeep, or it was supposed to be. It's a black Jeep, I noticed. So it's not the Jeep that he's known for. But I think from this episode, they probably went, this is his vehicle now. He doesn't need to be driving a small car or even a giant car. Jeep seems to fit him. So it was the first attempt to see how that goes. Side note. This is the episode where they took the picture behind the scenes. I think I'm going to use it as the picture for this episode, the title card, of him with the sunglasses on, holding the rocket over his shoulder. Classic picture that isn't in the episode, but from the filming of this. Big stylized episode to it for him. He's wearing the sunglasses, he looks cool. Mm-hmm. The hair's the right length. He's wearing the leather jacket. I remember being a kid and going, look at him. He's just so comfortable. He's so cool without trying to be cool. I remember that sticking with me. Like, this was one of those. I like the aesthetic of what I'm seeing. And realistically, he's in California, so he's going to be wearing sunglasses. He had to be hot as can be with that jacket. Another thought I had about this, too, as he's driving out there, and he's splashing through puddles to find it. It's a little cabin, like a little utility cabin somewhere in the California wilderness. And it reminds me, I had a friend of mine who had said to me, and you know who you are if you're listening, who I got to start watching MacGyver and Stargate. Got through all of Stargate, started to watch MacGyver, and goes, I don't want to keep watching it because I don't like the fact that he's always in California and it's always like sand and cactus. All right, first of all, keep watching. It's not about that. Two, as we all know, that changes, and I can see why. We're not even out of the first season, and I'm sick of the landscape. And if they hadn't fixed it, I think MacGyver would have been known as much for the California landscape type of adventures. And that's not part of what he is. So they really would have stuck him with that. Very much the way, say, the Rockford Files was always that section of California with the beaches and certain part of the city, which you never got out of. Well, in Vancouver, you get the whole world, basically. Stephen Downing was very smart. He told me that on this podcast about his idea to do why he did that. Besides financially, it was a brilliant move as far as locations. Go back and listen to that chat if you haven't. But this is, I get that. I'm like, I'm. It's all just kind of the same color. It's kind of got a gray to it. There's mountains in the background, but they're not filled with trees. It's just sand and rock. So anyway, she decides she's going to get herself out. She has a little radio that she listens to the satellite stuff on.
And that's how he found her too. She wasn't it like a she
The frequency. Yep,
so she had
that was
to
what
have
she
it
put on the computer. Find me here, kind of thing. This is the station that I listen to. So if you could find it that way, great, smart. And she decides I'm not sticking around. At least she kind of thinks it out. She does the welding trick that MacGyver does in Trumbo's world, where using the generator that's there, gets the cables and puts some quarters in and starts using it to melt the metal. Whereas MacGyver welded something, she's just trying to melt through the bars and the cabin windows that are there. MacGyver shows up in time and doesn't say, "Oh, you didn't think this through, did you?" Because she cut through it, but it's too hot, which is realistic. You don't get to just go, "There, I broke it. I get to slip out." He shows up and looks at it and goes, "Wow, good job." And it's not condescending. It's not, I didn't think you had it in you. It's, no, this is great.
Awesome.
Yeah, smart. MacGyver, and I've said this before, but I'll say it again. It's one of those situations. MacGyver doesn't think he's above people. He expects people to be smart. He expects people to think. And you could see the moments when he's disappointed in people, even though he doesn't take a moment to go, he just kind of, I always think of the Madonna, where the kid says, "Why didn't we think of that?" He goes, "I don't know. Why didn't you?" And, kind of like a smile, but yeah, you should have. I don't think I'm special. This is one of those moments, right? And she goes, "Yeah, except I can't get through because it's too hot." So he goes, "All right, hang on a second." Looks around, finds a big old tin of garbage, starts digging through it. And I love the thing he wants isn't right on top. They don't try and go, "Oh, no, we need to save time." This is the CBS way of doing things now. Yeah, he's got to look through this. No, that ain't it. He throws something on the ground. Oh, a little can of aerosol. That'll work. Goes over, sprays it, and gets her out. Now, it's really actually a pretty fast... once they get going and he has to find her, there's only a couple things that have to happen for the rest of this episode. They're going to launch a missile. And the bad guys, the guy who has the missile is trying to sell it to a bad guy, a corporate-y bad guy with this suit and tie. I need to I need to see that the product works because the guidance system isn't quite there yet. Why would I pay for that? So he goes, "You need to send one of those missiles to the target that I tell you to send it to, and that way I'll know that it works, and now we have a deal." He decides he's going to send it to a bridge, the Clinton something bridge in California. And so MacGyver and the girl are driving on their way. They're going to try and find out where it is. And as they're driving, there's a great scene between the two of them.
Well, doesn't he know where it is? Because he said, "Oh, that the."
Not where not that part. They're following the bad guys first. They don't even know where the missile's going to go yet.
Oh, right. He doesn't know. I'm sorry.
No,
you're right.
It's okay.
They told the bad guys that that's where it was.
Right, but they're not even at that point yet. So they're driving, and she kind of says, like he's very kind to her, and basically kind of saying, "You're not weird. You're not ugly. Relax. You have a gift. It's a great gift. You just have to learn how to navigate it." And she goes, "You're kind of like my first. Never mind." And he's like, "What, friend? I guess." And he says, "I'm honored." And she thinks, "No, you're making fun of me." No, friendship is too valuable. It's too hard to come by. And that's a thing you'll see on MacGyver Online. They'll do little pictures and quotes, inspirational quotes from MacGyver. And it's true. Things that he would say, I'd go, "Oh, that's a good way of thinking about life." And I remember being a kid and going, yeah, friendship is too hard to... I'm a kid. You don't even think that deep at the time. But when he says things like that, you go, yeah. And as the years go on, you realize, friendship is too hard to come by. You need to value it. You need to be kind to each other. You need to not go, Kate, you're a weird little girl. Like, shut up, Kate. Like, you can't say that. You should be nurturing and caring. And MacGyver just naturally is. I love, and again, many times in this episode, they could have done the I'm saying something that should be on a t-shirt kind of line, and he doesn't deliver it that way. He doesn't shift the focus to him. He doesn't try to stand on a pedestal and pontificate to Kate. He just, it's matter of fact. He just says things because it's matter of fact, and value yourself more. And so now she lightens up. Now she's going to have fun. And now they're going to go. He goes, oh, wait a minute. You know what? He pulls over. We just need to find out. We need to listen in on their conversation. And he says to her, so how are we going to do that? And kind of quizzes her. And she goes, come on, Kate. You can't figure this out. You're not as smart as I think you are. And kind of like,
come on. Yeah.
But we have to listen to them over the radio. And she goes, oh, okay, yeah. We triangulation. There you go. And okay, now he's having fun. And she's having fun. And how are we going to do that? Well, and I love this. He goes, we can use, we can use your radio that you have in your pocket. We'll use the Jeep as the other radio. And we'll use their location as the third spot. She goes, oh, I kind of used up all the batteries. Love that. Love that. Because any other writers would have said, done, do it, move on with the episode. No, we've hit a snag.
Yep, I had to leave this on so you could find me, so now it's dead.
Mm-hmm. So, okay, MacGyverism time. What do we know? We know plants carry a low current. So he goes over to a cactus, plugs the wires in it, and they don't need much, but it's enough. And they figure out a lot of math in this episode, by the way. I'm like, I used to follow along and go, oh yeah, okay, yeah, that makes it. At this point, I got it. I don't have to think that deep to figure out every single angle that they're doing. They're like, all right, we have to triangulate north on our watches and figure out where they are. So that way we can drive there and stop them. Wow. Okay. And they do. Now when they get there, they see the bad guys with their briefcase kind of launch thing with the missile. And they're up on a hill, which, by the way, reminds me of, we're currently watching, we always watch Alone when it's on. They are currently in Africa this season. Instead of it being cold tundra, they're shoving them all in like the worst spot in Africa and just watching them fall within 10 days. But it's a lot of hills with rocks and shrubbery, very much like this episode. So that's what when I would watch Alone, I would think of this episode because they are on a hill looking down on these guys trying to hide. And all right, how are we going to stop them? They have guns. And she goes, yeah, if only we could have that gun. And he says, yeah, well, I prefer not to use them. Just kind of doesn't stand on the soapbox to say it, just says it. Like, I never really had much use for guns. But you know what? We can actually use that gun in a better way. And long story short, gets pieces from the Jeep and they talk it out. This is what's fun. He says to her, all right, we're going to harness the power of the sun towards that where they are on the gun. What are we going to use, Kate? We could use the mirrors. And, it kind of has her walk through it, which is done just enough. Mm-hmm. It's there to make her part of it, but he also isn't going, go ahead, I'm the professor and you need to answer my, just let's have some fun with this, but let's also hurry because we have 12 minutes. And they use parts of the Jeep again, which is another thing, which is why it's not his usual Jeep, because they take this thing apart. And they used the mirrors and the headlight and the binocular at the end to basically make a little laser to cook up the shotgun that the bad guy had leaned against the back of the Jeep, their Jeep. And boom, it blows up, knocks them out. Well, they were supposed to start countdown, and the guys on the other side of that radio are like, "Yo, Jimmy, why haven't you started the countdown?" So MacGyver goes, "Oh," reminds me of Han Solo in Star Wars, where he runs over to the, "Everything's fine here, nothing to worry about." Instead, he goes, "All right, commencing countdown," but he doesn't try to change his voice, which I would have. I would have at least gone a little deeper. And the guy goes, "Oh, whoa, 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 Jimmy, this you? Continuing countdown. You're not Jimmy. Nice try." They have a second missile, and they're going to launch it. Oh, crap. So now what do? And they figure out, okay, this one, if we take out this one chip, it becomes a heat seeker. As long as we launch it within seconds of that other missile. Kate pops out the chip. They launch it. It blows up and stops. Oh, the missile was going to hit that bridge, which was having
A
marathon. And at first he's like, "Oh, they're going to blow up the bridge." And then he realizes, "Oh, crap." And she's like, "What?" "The marathon's today." "How do you know that?" "Because I ran it twice." Which, again, works because that's who MacGyver and Richard Dean Anderson are. Where it had another character done that, I would have went, "I don't see you running a marathon or taking part in anything." But Richard Dean Anderson always did before MacGyver and continued through it. So yeah, that works.
I do have to say, the stock footage of the marathon runners was just cracking me up. It was just this grainy old because you could tell they got it from somewhere completely, in some file room somewhere.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of the first season did that. They did it throughout the series when they needed to, like if they showed the rocket in the sky. Well, they're not really going to launch a real rocket until they get new footage. But they used from famous movies throughout the series, especially the first season, because we're not going to have a big car chase in Europe when we know
they're not going to get thousands and thousands of people to run on a bridge for 5 seconds. I get that.
Right.
But
it is
the contrast
the
in quality
contrast
was
of
hilarious.
It's a shame because nowadays they would have digitally fixed that.
Right.
They would have still used the footage, but they would have made it pop a little more. There's one episode in particular that I just thought of. Two. There's one where he's skiing down the hill, and they use footage of somebody getting caught in an avalanche, so they make him dress up like that. They also do it in Eagles, where he's climbed for a good chunk of this episode. He's climbing a mountain. Mm-hmm. Well, that came from a documentary of a guy climbing a mountain. So they went, put him in the red hat.
Yeah.
Make him dress like he's
that guy.
Yeah, gonna yodel off a mountain. And because when you look at it, you're like, I wonder why MacGyver would wear that. Oh, because that's the footage that they have. They have to make it fit. Yeah. But whatever. So yeah, that does come up, and you kind of just go, all right, whatever. It's bad production from a distance, And then the missile blowing up. So it's sweet too, because as the missile launches, just little things that he does. He puts his arm around Kate and shelters her from the smoke. Little things. They don't call it out, but you go, see, that's the character that he is. That's who Richard Dean Anderson is. So in the end, he puts his arm around her, and she's like, "We did it!" Oh, I love the fact that there's a point where they're getting all excited, and he runs up to the cactus to plug in the wires. He's like, she goes, "What? All for one." He goes, "One for all." I can't believe you said that. I think that's an ad lib. I don't think that was written because he cracks up. And I think they kept it. I think she kind of went with the moment and he used it. And they were like, good enough.
If not, it was just an adorably acted scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
could have been either one.
And then when he blows up the gun, he's trying to run down to stop it. And she's sitting on a rock going, I can't believe that worked. It worked. Let's go. He turns around, comes back, says, it worked. Can we go? Little moments like that were great. And then the last scene is back at the club where we get to see people dancing. One guy in particular in a tie and a red jacket. Woo! Using his minute to shine. He is spinning around like he's Michael Jackson. And woo, look at the arms up and he does stand out. I know.
Well, and also there was a girl with like a white shirt with like a collar on it, and then she had like the giant triangle earrings.
Welcome to
and
1986.
Then, of course, like the giant hair, and I was just like,
I remember.
That's accurate.
Yep, I remember. And the more than one members only jacket among that crowd. Which I always like those jackets. They're very nice. They're very light. But now people go members only jacket. I think they still make them.
They do.
I still see old guys wearing them. And I'm like, yeah, good for you. You don't change. That's a good jacket. And she's all gussied up for her date. She's talking to some guy, and she seems to be a bit more popular. She's more relaxed, and MacGyver's standing there, and she sees him and goes over to talk to him. And basically he's saying, there's going to be work for you when you graduate. So, they're going to come calm. But it's fine because she goes, oh, that's great. That's cool. And he kind of, I don't know. He kind of looks at her.
You should be a little happy.
Yeah, why aren't you more excited? Oh, there's a guy. Why don't you introduce me? He's shy. And it's sweet because it shows that she's doing better in her social life. Then MacGyver gets to check in on her. And she says, well, I see you again. Count on it. Well, I'm glad it happened off camera because I don't ever need to see her again.
She seemed nicer at the end.
Sure, she's nicer at the end, and that was the whole arc was all about her being uncomfortable.
Again, she wouldn't have been that bad.
Yeah, whatever. I just, like I said, I'm glad that episode, which was going to happen at some point, you need to see what MacGyver would deal with the little clever person next door.
Little clever person.
I mean like leprechaun. I mean like someone who could be smart and he can talk to about, be a mentor. Mm-hmm. Okay. They never made anybody an idiot, except for maybe Penny Parker. But people that he dealt with in an episode didn't just stand around and go, wow, MacGyver, you're amazing. But they also weren't geniuses either. They were normal people, right? Like all the characters that he deals with knows he's special, but he never carries himself like he's special. So they kind of don't try to be dumb and try to, I think, subconsciously try to not compete with him, but show their value next to him.
Unless you're Jack Dalton and you're just trying to get him to do whatever you want him to do.
Right. But even Jack, throughout his arc, he even in his first appearance, though, they work well together.
They do.
Even with Mike, the girl who they rescue in the first episode, they all knew, oh, yep, okay, let's get working. Open the hood. We're going to work on this together. And which is a great conversation when we get to that episode. But little nuances like that, yeah, I believe these three hung out together a lot. Like they already know. So yeah, that was that episode. Like I said, we've turned a corner now with the series, with his style, with the writers and production knowing where he rests. I feel like before they were trying different angles and stuff, which all worked. It never felt out of character. But this episode was one of those where, now when you tune into MacGyver, you are comfortable with what you're going to get. That kind of thing. And I think that's it. Am I forgetting any details?
I don't think so.
The next episode is more of that comfort level. I don't remember. I was looking at what the next episode would be. It is Slow Death? That doesn't seem right. Oh, it is. Yes, it is. MacGyver on a train. That is, let's see, MacGyver's trip through India is derailed by hijackers seeking revenge on two unidentified Westerners who sold poisonous medicine to their village. Very comfortable with who he is in this. They got it. I remember this was another one when I first saw it. I'm like, got it. There's no more learning curve anymore. And then it goes on from there to The Escape. John Delancey's in that one. I believe that's the one. Prisoner of Conscience after that. That's nice. He goes back to an insane asylum. I believe that's where that was. Or maybe it was the first time through. Basically, this hospital that he's going to go to, he goes to more than once. So I think this might have been the first one. Anywho. Yeah,
we'll find out.
Tune in. We got some fun ones coming up. Always looking for guests. So we might throw in a guest here and there.
Trying to kick me out.
No. You're reliable. You'll be here. You always
here.
See? You're not going anywhere. So when I need you, you're here.
What are wives for?
Right. But when we can get guests, obviously Richard Dean Anderson would be great. But one, I don't want to be a pest. Two, after a while you feel kind of stupid, constantly nudge. And I don't see him. If I saw him again, hopefully I get to, I'll remind him. But as much as I want him happy. I want him happy and content. And if he doesn't want to do podcasts, his loss, I guess. I don't know. That's a shame. But I'll continue to occasionally feel that out. But know that that's always in the works. Yeah. Trying to get Michael DeBar on. He said he would be on, but now it's a matter of getting him on a particular day. Other actors from MacGyver and Stargate, when they're available, I'll have them on. Remember, go to the Forever Adventure Network. We're filming in the Fan Cave. That's what this space is now called. But go to the Forever Adventure Network. Go to Patreon if you'd like to contribute. We don't make a cent, so anything you want to contribute kind of benefits you guys with merchandise and freebies. And the more, if we get anything, we don't save it. We kind of use
Put it back into the...
Yeah. Put it back into
better
this.
Quality or whatever
Exactly. Hopefully avoid the debacle that we just went through because of rapid feeds. That's another thing. We have to find free stuff because we can't afford to just be spending monthly on production. So if you want to donate, go to Patreon, either Mac Jackson or the Forever Adventure Network. You should be able to find it. If you go to the Forever Adventure Network, you're going to find our store. Get some MacGyver stuff. T-shirts, stickers, the works. Pants. Get some nice comfortable pajama pants, MacGyver on it. Shower curtains. I'm telling you, Redbubble has everything. I don't, they're like, want a hat? Sure, you got a hat. You want
mouse pad.
A mouse pad, mat for your dog food. Okay, sure. Scarf for the dogs, you can do that. Cell phone cases.
For your dog?
If they're smart enough, sure. Thank you. Anything really. So there's that. There's blogs. There's links to everything. Video, audio. Just check it out. Appreciate all that you guys could do and are doing. Reviews are always nice. If you ever want to leave a nice review, share this link. That's nice. More ears on this makes this worth it. And we'll just keep chugging along. Happy to say that we won't have to wait as long now, thank God, because we will get these episodes at least through Spotify and YouTube. All right? And don't forget, look for us on Twitter, Facebook, Blue Sky, blah, 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 blah. If there's some sort of social thing, I'm trying to get us out there to make sure that we can connect with you guys. I appreciate all the emails that you guys send. And we'll be back next time. Hopefully, like I said, it won't be as long. We have lots to talk about, lots of episodes to go, lots of discussions to have. The funny thing is, I know there's life stories that I would have shared had I thought of it. And in the moment that we hit that were done, and I go, oh, that was a good one. I could have. Well, guess what? I'm going to write it down and have it for next time. Or like I said, check in on our blog. I try to write down some stuff there and make it worth chiming into. All right. So until next time, thanks for listening, everybody, and stay creative.
The MacGyver podcast is part of the Forever Adventure Network and made possible by donations to the Forever Adventure Network by Mac Jackson on Patreon. Please subscribe, rate, and review wherever podcasts are heard. And follow us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. And remember, stay creative, everyone. The Forever Adventure Network. Welcome to the adventure. Hi, everybody. If you're looking for the best in podcasts, audio series, and music, please check out the Forever Adventure Network. We have podcasts such as the Never Gets Old podcast. We have audio series such as the MacGyver SG-1 audio series and music by Harmony Constant, as well as blogs, comics, and more. Please check us out at the Forever Adventure Network. And as always, thanks for joining the adventure. The Forever Adventure Network. Welcome to the adventure.